It's a great joy to be with you. This is my first time actually, I think, preaching at the cathedral. I came here many times for Mass, and so it's just a joy to be with you. In preparation for this gospel, I was actually reflecting on my time in seminary. And while in seminary, you learn a lot of things, but one of the things I remember learning was the idea of glory. That glory is a word we use often in the Catholic Church, but we never stop to ponder, what does this mean? That it's such a basic word that often we don't reflect on what does glory mean. And I remember in one of our classes, our professor unpacked the term glory. And he defined it as glory is the manifestation of one's excellence. That glory is this moment in which one's excellence, in which one's perfections is revealed to others, is manifested to others. We're in the midst of school season, and so often there's a lot of sports and activities, and students are competing for glory. They're competing for this moment in which they get to manifest just how great they are. That this is the beauty of state tournaments, is that at the state tournament, what you are saying is you're saying that no matter who we came up against, we defeated them all. That this is our excellence, this is our glory. That in athletics we see just on a human level the idea of glory and the manifestation of one's excellence. And it's this notion of glory that's actually undergirding the gospel in the first reading today. Because the Jewish people at the time of Jesus, they were awaiting the glory of the Messiah. They were awaiting this moment in which the Messiah would come and manifest his excellence to the nations. That subtly within the promises of God in the Old Testament, within the prophecies of the prophets, what we actually see is that God promises to send a Messiah, one who will restore the goodness of Israel, one who will come to establish a kingdom that lasts forever. That in the Israelite people, in our gospel reading, that they are awaiting the coming of the Messiah in which he would restore the glory of Israel. That all nations would stream towards Israel because they will see within Israel the excellence of God. And so when Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And Peter professes, "You are the Messiah, the Christ, the anointed one, the Son of God." What Peter is saying is, you're going to bring with us the glory of God. That you're going to restore to us the glory of Israel. That our kingdom that is beaten down and oppressed under the Roman authorities, you're going to establish your kingdom. And Jesus today does something that they weren't expecting. Because what he reveals is that the glory of the Messiah is not the establishment of the kingdom of Israel again, but the glory of the Messiah is to lay down his life. That Jesus says, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of God, because you know that I am the Messiah. But I'm not the Messiah that you think I am. That I'm not a Messiah coming to establish an earthly kingdom, but I'm coming here to establish a heavenly kingdom. A kingdom that will not come and go, a kingdom that's not here today and gone tomorrow, a kingdom that is eternal. That I will win this not by violence, but by laying down my life willingly. That my manifestation of excellence will come on the cross, that my hour of glory is when I'm stretched out between heaven and earth, that I'm exalted for all nations to see, that I will win victory by going into the depths of hell and bringing back the just, that my light will be a light to all nations, that any sin, any death I will conquer." That this is the glory of Jesus. That Jesus reveals that the glory of the Messiah is actually to lay down one's life. And if this is the glory of Jesus, the moment that he manifests his excellence is to lay down his life, and this is the glory of Christians. That there's a temptation within Christianity today, within Catholicism today, that if we just do great programs or if we have great buildings, people will come to faith. I know I'm saying this somewhat ironically because I'm within a glorious church. That this church is truly a manifestation of excellence. That as I travel the country, as I meet priests from all over the United States and I say that I'm from Sioux Falls, they say, "You have a beautiful cathedral there." And there's a temptation to think within Christianity that if we just had more churches like this, on every street corner, then Christianity would radiate glory. And Jesus is saying today, no. The glory of Christianity, the glory of a Christian, the moment that a Christian manifests their excellence, is when they lay down his life or her life for him. The glory of a Christian comes in the moment when they lay down their life. I bring this up because I want to talk today about the glory of the priesthood. That in 2 Sundays from now, the last Sunday of September in the United States, we celebrate as Priesthood Sunday. It's a moment where we just give thanks to God for the gift of priests and the gift of the priests in our life. And I want to talk today just about how priests lay down their life. And there's a concrete moment that actually happens in our cathedral, in the ordination rite, that I think we can see, like, truly the glory of the priesthood is to lay down, when a man lays down his life for the church. In the ordination rite, what happens is a young man is sitting with his family in the pews where you are. And there's a moment where they're called forth into the sanctuary, called forth into the Holy of Holies. And as they come forth, one of the first things they do is they actually lay down prostrate. They fall down face first on the marble. That they are laying down their life for God. What they are saying is, I'm leaving my family, I'm leaving my home, I'm leaving my future, and I'm giving it all to you, Jesus. The desires to have a family, the desires to be self-sufficient, the desires to be able to control my own future, Lord, I'm laying down at this altar for you. In the old rites, what they would actually do is they would actually bring out a funeral pall and lay a funeral pall on the man as he's laying face first on the marble. To remind the man and to remind the church that he's laying down his life. He is dying on that day so that he might give himself to Christ. And there's a beautiful moment that occurs while he's laying face down on the marble. The church starts praying for him, praying that he might make a worthy offering of himself, praying that he might become the priest that he's called to be, praying that he might provide for them the sacraments. But not just the church members gathered here in the pews, but the church in heaven as well. And in fact, written into our cathedral, we see this, that the apostles above us, they're leaning out of the walls to see this man laying down his life for Christ. They're yearning just to get a view to see this man who's willing to join them in the ranks of priesthood. Then right after he lays down his life, right after the moment where he's laying face down on the marble, what's the next thing that happens? Like a newborn baby, he's clothed. He's given the garments of priesthood. That he is a new man as he rises, that he lays down his life and he receives eternal life from the Lord. That he receives this eternal gift of priesthood. And then the next moment, like a newborn baby is anointed in baptism, his hands are anointed because his hands are no longer his hands, but the hands of Jesus Christ. And the next thing that he's given from the bishop is actually the chalice and the bread. And the bishop says to the man, receive the offering of the people. Receive the offering, the prayers of the people. What the bishop is saying in that moment is, your life is not your own. Your life is to stand at the altar and intercede for the people of God who are laboring strenuously in the vineyard. That they need someone to stand between heaven and earth to pray, to intercede for them. And this is now your work. Your labor, the way that you earn your money by the sweat of your brow, is to offer the perfect sacrifice to the Father for the people of God. And then the final thing the bishop says to the man as he's handing on the chalice is, conform your life to the mystery of the cross. That you are no longer your own, but you are Jesus Christ's. That the glory of the priesthood is to lay down their life, the man laying down his life for Christ. And it's this glory that God is still calling young men to. There are men here in this cathedral that God is inviting to this altar. That there are young men who will be listening to this homily throughout the world that God is inviting to the altar. That God is inviting them to live this life of glory. That yes, there's a temptation within young men as they think about priesthood. They're like, I can't give up my family. I can't give up marriage. And what Jesus is inviting them was saying to them today, whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Brothers and sisters, the glory of Jesus Christ is the moment where he lays down his life for us. For us as Christians, the moment of our glory is when we lay down our life for him.